Hey guys, welcome to FSChangemakers. Today we have Navjot Kaur joining us. Navjot is a vice president at Fireside Ventures. Fireside is a consumer brands focused venture capital firm, which is an investor in companies like Fable Street, Mamaearth, Boat, and many others. Before that, Navjot spent 4 years working for Bookmyshow, where she built some new businesses. And welcome to FS Changemakers, Navjot.
Thanks, Adarsh. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start with the early days of your career. So you got some great startup exposure.
It happened very interestingly. I was in Calcutta. I had finished my graduation. I was trying to get work experience while my family thought it was a better idea to not get work experience and start MBA. So in that negotiation, we settled that work experience, but in Calcutta, and I got very lucky to find a very interesting role in Calcutta. The data of 800 plus startups that was going through me and my team every single day, and that gave me exposure to startups in North America early in 2012 or 2011. So that's the time when I, realized that this is a very exciting space. The startup ecosystem is definitely where I see myself long term. And, I was thinking where do I fit in the startup ecosystem? Will I be an entrepreneur? Will I be, a service provider? Who will I be? And I really wanted to be a venture capitalist, and I wanted to be a large part of the startup ecosystem as a venture capitalist. And, diversity and variety really excited me. So the idea of being a venture capitalist and empowering so many different startups, I had a very interesting idea back then when I was 22 that, startups are basically young people, and mostly young people who come up with ideas, or interesting people who come up with ideas, and they have a plan, and that one idea can change so many things and change the world. WhatsApp was an idea one day, and now look at how we're using it. And as a venture capitalist, you are seeding them, or you are nurturing them, or you are watering that seed to make it into a plant. So I used to think like that, and I was like, I want to do this. I want to empower founders and startups and see that seed become a tree. And very exciting for me. So that's when I decided that I wanted to be a venture capitalist.
Awesome. So you also spent 4 years at Bookmyshow, where you were actually building businesses. And that must have given you a great exposure as an operator before you became a VC. One, how was that experience like? And secondly, do you think being an operator helps you in being a better VC as well?
Absolutely. So I think after my graduation from my B school, I could not personally find myself fitting in any of the roles like a marketing manager or a product manager or a project manager, and I wanted something more entrepreneurial. And I also knew somewhere very strongly that I want to work with startups and I want to be a venture capitalist. But I didn't have a plan. I didn't know exactly how that was going to pan out. But I knew that, okay, I don't want to be departmentalized. And maybe, I'm not as skilled as you in marketing as a marketing person, or a techie so I was more of a generalist. And I wanted to explore, building something within a digital first new age company. And I thought that would really help me when I later eventually somehow figure out my way into venture capital world. And I thought that would really help me understand a company's pain points from within. So even when I was working at Bookmyshow, making the entire plan for the board, pitching to the board, getting approvals from the board, it gave me a sense of very good balance of, okay, this is how the external investors or are thinking, and the management is thinking. This is how we operate internally. This is how you need to sync it up. When I joined, we had raised 500 crores. Even later, we raised 100 million. And the problem statement that was given, initial days, it seemed very easy to me. It seemed like, oh, this is the problem statement. How do you grow the company through ABC methods? We should do 1 2 3. And then when you actually start executing it, it actually, you realize it's not a advisory. It's easy to advise and say that, okay, you should do this, but when you start doing it, it's very different, working across 9 different teams, aligning everybody, testing the market, going to market fast. It's a different thrill, it's a different excitement, it's a different experience, and it's a different learning. So I think without that learning, I would not be a very good venture capitalist today. I think that learning has really helped me understand the difference between advice and execution.
So now that you've experienced both, did you like being an operator more or venture capitalist better?
I love being an operator, but I always wanted to be a venture capitalist because I think I enjoy working with really, really smart people, working with very game changing, dynamic entrepreneurs. And I think I'm so fortunate to be surrounded by so many of them. So I really like that.
So help us understand, or rather everybody who's watching us, how does a typical day or a week for a venture capitalist look like?
So actually, let me take a step back. A venture capitalist first, raises money for the fund. So that's fundraising for the venture capitalist from their LPs. Then once you have that fund, then the day-to-day operations are more investment related. And then the third phase is when you return money to the investors. But let me talk more about where most of us are used to the deployment of where venture capitalist is putting money in startups. So during that phase, the day-to-day, what it looks like, it's broken up broadly into 2 pieces. One is where you're looking for new investments, and the other is where you're managing the existing investments. So when you are looking for new investments, your day-to-day, and it's a mix, your day, your week, your month is a mix of all these activities. So of course, when you are looking for new investments and when you want to put in money somewhere, you will spend a lot of time understanding the sector. So for us, for example, consumer is the sector that we operate in. You spend a lot of time understanding the current and futuristic trends of the consumer, the influences from the Western world, the influences from the change of infrastructure. For example, by infrastructure, I mean if Reliance Jio has come and that changes significantly a consumption pattern. So all of that and how it's going to affect the economy, the consumption, your target audience, and that's on the your buyer side, your consumer side, and how are the players in the market evolving accordingly, and what are the subsectors being formed. So one part is to really understand what's happening in the market, the entire market thesis, and the other is to actively speak to as many people in the market, as many entrepreneurs in the market, to figure out how they are building this out. And then, selecting a deal, investing in the deal, that's another part. So that entire thing is deal making, investment. And then there's another part, which is portfolio management, where once you've invested in a company, you are constantly being a sounding board for entrepreneurs, for founders. You are thinking big picture. You are always, if at all required, pulling everybody back to think of the big picture potential. There are so many options available. We have to always prioritize, experiment, fail fast. So I think those are the things more on the support side of the portfolio.
So you mentioned that Fireside is a consumer-focused fund, and what makes Fireside focus on D2C brands versus, say, technology, which is where the traditional venture capitalists have played?
So D2C has become very interesting. India, the population of India is 1.3 billion plus. And India is, the growing middle class gives us a huge opportunity to play in the consumer market. In the consumer market also, there are multiple brands that can exist and thrive within a certain sector. For example, a consumer will be okay to buy like a t-shirt, for example, from 5 different brands. Of course, there's brand loyalty, and that's great, but there won't be only 2 t-shirt brands in India, right? There'll be multiple, and there'll be multiple who will have the right to win, because consumers choose and allow multiple brands to exist in the consumer space. In the tech space, usually what happens is it tends more towards a winner take all market, where there are 2 taxi companies, Uber and Ola. There can't be 10, but in consumer there can be 5, and they can all exist very well. if a consumer has to buy a perfume, they can buy 5, 10 different brands, and that's okay for all of them to exist. The second thing is that's why consumer is different from tech. Right now, D2C has become a very interesting opportunity for investments. Why is because brands earlier, the way brands were being made, they had a lot of hurdles to get to a consumer. Now they don't have that. Now a brand can talk directly to the consumer and create like a lot of wealth or a lot of revenue without having the kind of costs and the kind of hurdles that they had before. Example, Bata. Earlier we had Bata, and I don't even remember if there was any other brand when I was growing up, when we were in school, right? That Bata was a popular one.
Liberty.
The reason why, sorry?
Liberty shoes.
Yes, Liberty shoes. But today we have so many options, right? The reason was back in the day for big companies, how could they market and target people? They could put one big ad in on TV, or they could put one big hoarding on the road, and everybody, me, my mom, my sister, my friends, everybody would see that ad, right? Whether you're a boy, girl, everybody. There's no targeting. So now the D2C brands, because of companies like Facebook and Google, brands can target someone who has a certain kind of a foot problem and only make for customized products for them. And that's why the right for D2C brands to exist has become so much larger, where you can customize, target, and you can create a brand of your own. And that's very interesting. Today there's a joke that if there's an elbow cream, you can literally have something which is just catering to the dryness of an elbow, like that niche. You can create a product for that. So I think the opportunity that tech is giving us, D2C is highly tech enabled, and the kind of technology that is there right now, which wasn't there earlier, is actually empowering. The kind of deliveries that are happening at the speed of which it's happening, the kind of websites that you can create now, the kind of targeting that you can do now, and directly talk to customers through social media without any other middle. So it's not just the marketing part, it's an overall approach from marketing, delivery, production, etc., which comes together, makes D2C very interesting, valuable for the brand, valuable for the customer, valuable for the investor.
Thanks for sharing those details. So talking about you as an investment professional, what makes you go wow about a deal when you talk to a founder?
So my favorite area now is one is the big picture, the opportunity that that we can play in, and the second is which is tied to the first point, which is the vision of the entrepreneur itself. So one is the market opportunity, and the second is more of the person's vision, and how big is an individual thinking, and how large the opportunity. I mean, the opportunities can always be small or large, but it's the individual's dream and passion that actually reflects a lot in the vision, I feel.
So now that you've been working at it for some time, any favorite deals, or rather, which was your first deal, and any special memories with regards to that?
So I started working on smaller deals before Fireside, where I was helping angel investors do due diligence for startups. And there were, it started from there. Obviously, there have been so many interesting deals at Fireside. But if I go back in time, there was, I remember a deal called in the esports category called So Strong. And there were so many, it was so new to the Indian investor angel market. However, the numbers were so exciting, so thrilling, where a lot of us were not like today. If I invest in a beauty brand, I'll probably as a consumer understand that very well, right? Also, but there were these e-gaming companies and different companies where you're not a consumer of those products, but as an investor, it is just so exciting to see the numbers growing, and to see how there is a set of customers who's doing that, very unrelatable to you from a customer point of view, but also acknowledging that this market is there, which actually which is one learning that I had, which is bias versus big picture, where what we understand, we try and gravitate towards that. So my learning over there, the reason I was sharing this particular one was because I had no relatability to the deal. Esports is, I don't know much about esports as a consumer, but as an investor, it was just so exciting, and so exciting to see that people actually sit and watch other people game. And that's a huge business. That's a $1 billion business. So my learning was how to remove my personal opinions, biases, or blind spots about something, and yet see the crazy opportunity and invest in it. So that was very interesting. That's what venture capital does, right? It's just such a variety, and you may not be a part of it, but it's still there.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. So, fact is, in the venture capital world, we don't have a lot of women. So how does it feel for you as a woman to be in this world dominated by men?
So I think I would see it as, the same problem. I wouldn't see it as a venture capital problem, but an overall problem. And in my opinion, if you you kind of, you know how to, you're passionate about it, you know what you need to get the job done. I don't see why it should be very hard to break in, because I see more and more now talent is being rewarded. But yeah, I think larger picture, I wouldn't limit it to venture capital, but I think larger picture, the problem is more on a little bit on perception. So I mean, I will probably even tie it back to human psychology and all of that, and say that we perceive that a manager, let's say a manager, uh, has to be a certain way. The personality has to be ABC type A person, who, and only this person can get the job done, right? And that applies to everything. It's not just venture capital. And then it's basically it's also a bias. Like, we are biased towards certain personalities, certain traits, certain grades, certain tick boxes, right? And maybe, or maybe not, a gender is also a kind of a bias or a tick mark of, this is how I visualize this person to be. And it doesn't have to be like that. And it's a very, I there's a founder in our portfolio, a lot of women founders actually in our portfolio. And we imagine that an aggressive or a ambitious person has to be a certain way. But I have seen that the same outcome of aggression, of, same aggressive outcome, has come out with from a personality who's very gentle, who brings her child sometimes in Zoom calls, who pops in very level-headed and not screaming or not, showing power, is very kind, and gets the exact same outcome, or maybe even better outcome. So there is think fast, think slow also talks about how we are used to thinking of a certain person in a certain way. And as a kid, I saw this movie called Legally Blonde, right? I don't exactly remember what the movie exactly, I should watch it again. But my takeaway at that time was that you don't have to be a certain type, that person, that character also could achieve the same degree, etc., etc., by being the way she was, right? So I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and others. So if I had to really be crude about it, if we say the male community or the whatever work community will probably, they should stop perceiving the role in a certain way. And even the candidate, or even the person entering, if it's a female, should stop trying to fit in and trying to be masculine. So it's both ways. So if one stops being masculine but the expectation is to be masculine, it's a two-way street. So I think we should allow that, and we should focus more on outcomes and not the masculinity of it. That would help.
So, all the young professionals watching us today, I'm sure a lot of them want to enter the world of venture capital. What would be your recommendation to them on how to go about it, on how they can break in?
I would say read a lot, get yourself very updated on what's happening. So you need to really understand, you need to know what's happening. That's more factual. I have a younger brother who's 10 years younger, and this is, what I would probably tell him. I don't know if he wants to be in venture capital or not, but I would say, just figure out what's happening first. if there's a deal happening, if Flipkart is being acquired, etc., etc. That's factual. Know what's happening, then understand what's happening, and see, try and form an opinion, because opinion forming is a very interesting thing. Especially, I don't know again if I want to make it a gender based thing, but opinion forming is basically when you're young and when you're new, you're too scared to form opinions, and you're like, I don't have a right to form opinions, what do I know, right? So it comes with time and it's essential. So I think I use knowledge to you can use talking to people, knowledge, etc., and then try and understand what's happening through that knowledge to form opinions. And it's okay to be open about your opinions, or loosely hold your opinions and be open to changing your opinions. But yeah, it helps to knowledge and opinions help to break through, because you can have a conversation with another person, otherwise you can't, right? And how do you break through if you can't even have a conversation?
Cool. So, Navjot, we are coming to the end of the conversation. So, but before we end, there are 4 quick questions that we would like to ask you as part of our rapid fire round. If you've seen this before, you would know how this works. So yeah, can we get started?
Yes, I'm ready.
Cool. So, one pivotal moment from your life that defines you as the person you are.
So I'll take the example of a not a very heavy one, but a more interesting aha moment that I had. This was in my B school first couple of days, where orientation week was going on, and all of us were divided into groups. We didn't know each other. We didn't know how to work with each other. And every group was given the exact same material with an egg. I think this is a common B school thing that happens. And you had to use that material to throw the egg from the second floor and make sure it doesn't break. And we all tried it, and we're like, no, you should do this and that, and everybody had an opinion and wanted to do it in a certain way. As a group, you finally do it and be like, okay, my group is the best, we are going to win because we've cracked this, and this is the way to do it. And then there are 50 other groups or 20 other groups, right, doing the same thing, and maybe 10% of the people are unsuccessful, but 90% are. So then 18 groups are successful, including you, and you realize that everyone did it in a different way, and you didn't even think that it could be done in that way. Like, you were like, oh, this is my way, and this, it's supposed to be done this way. Maybe 2 other ways it can be done, but that's it. And there were like 20 ways you could do it, and you could get the same result. So that was a big aha moment for me, that there are so many different ways of doing the same thing, and all are right. So that was nice.
And 3 Indian women that you look up to.
Indian women, okay. So one person who I really like is Sakshi Chopra. She's just made partner in Sequoia. I really admire her. I think she's a leader with so much, she's like such a secure, interesting leader. Really like that. The second would be, Shoravi from Slurp Farm, one of our portfolio companies. I love how authentic she is to herself and gets things done in her own way. It's amazing. And I think Ayushi, for sure, from Fable Street. I think she's just, I love how her passion and how she's been driving things, and it's super interesting.
I think we've now been doing FS Changemakers for a bit. This is the first time that in the 3 Indian women you look up to, Ayushi has come up. So yeah, that's a good start for us. 5 wardrobe staples that you need to have at all times.
Okay, I think my lens case and my lens solution. No, but jokes apart, I think white shirt, and there would be like a very comfy night suit, blue jeans, black trousers, and a perfume.
Awesome.
Actually, I missed a black dress. Yeah.
Awesome. If I'm correct, you're wearing black right now as well.
It's blue, but yeah, almost.
Almost. Good. So, any message that you would like to give to our audience today?
Yeah, I think the theme we've touched upon a little bit on, bias, stereotyping, big picture. So I think I would like to say that, as much as possible, try to catch your own biases, because we, have blind spots, and we kind of try to make decisions basis what we already know. We should try and make an effort to step back and think of what we don't know, and also account for that and see if that's valid.
Thank you, Navjot. Thanks for joining us at FS Changemakers. It was a pleasure talking to you.
It was lovely talking to you. Thank you, Adarsh, for having me.